the connection between food, fashion, and music is culture. So they're all intricately connected, even though they feel like they're random different things. So it's interesting. Like, where does that definition stand for you, and what does it mean for you?
Gas&Nectar started in 2020 as kind of a COVID project. I was just cooking every day and posting on Instagram, and it got attention of my friends. And, I was trying to build it a brand, but at first it was more of just like my way to express myself as a chef and as an artist. And then just over the past 2 years, it's kind of developed into, like I said, a multimedia culinary company. Like, I'd kind of equate it to like Bon Appetit or Munchies or something like that. Saw a need for it in Chicago because I don't think anyone is really doing that in Chicago yet. So we specialize in anywhere from restaurant reviews to cooking videos to vlogs with chefs and rappers and such like that. And we're trying to build a name for ourselves online in the social media world, because I feel like nowadays it's super easy to, if you have good, consistent work, it's super easy to propel yourself to the top, because, all it takes is one DM and one interested person to be like, okay, bring me this project, and if they like it, then that's that.
Who are some of your inspirations? Who are some of your motivators? Who are some of the people that you try to mold yourself by?
That's a great question. My father is the one I would start with. He's an entrepreneur himself, self-made. He went to a community college for photography, and right after that, he just got into his own studio and did his own thing, and now he's one of the most prominent photographers in the state of Iowa. Just all self-made. He's, all just from passion. I would say him. For like in the culture, I'd go Action Bronson. That's like my all-time chef, rapper, idol. He's a great champion for not taking yourself too seriously, man. He is a great chef, worked in kitchens, but also loves to rap and just express himself. I think you can't think of Action Bronson without thinking about just a big, outrageous personality. And, if he's in the room, everyone's looking at him and wondering what he's doing, but he can also make you some crazy food.
So I feel like there's a new school of people that are kind of starting in the grassroots type of, thing. So who are some of these peers, like in the people that you're working with, the people that you get to know here in Chicago, which has a historic, foodie type of community, who are some of these peers that you're gravitating towards? What are some of like the really cool things that you're kind of coming across and kind of, seeing here?
Oscar from Birria Tata Tacos is probably, when you ask me, the mentor, but I don't, that question about who I look up to, Oscar's definitely one of them. I feel like he's leading the charge for the new school pop-up era here in Chicago. He just is doing a collaboration with Esme Restaurant, which is a fine dining concept, and they are killing it, and that collaboration is kind of world-breaking, because it's, it's the hoity-toity. You got to pay, I think it's like $250 to reserve your seat at that restaurant, and Oscar is telling his story about growing up there at that fine dining spot, so that's really something else. Also, I worked at Three House over in West Town, and Half Evil Sam, the owner and one of the founders of Half Evil, has been really inspirational to myself, because when they opened in 2020, he gave me the opportunity to be on the founding, or on the, the staff that would open it up. And we did a really, really great job, I think. And he's always just been super grateful for my work. And it's just, when someone believes in you and truly appreciates what you're doing for them, you want to work for them and you want to do the best you can. You're inspired. He took us out to Family Style Fest in LA, as like, to work it. We had a booth there, but it was also like, he's just being a great guy and telling you and showing you he appreciates you.
As you kind of began your journey of entrepreneurship, like what were some of the challenges that you faced, but ultimately what were some of the learnings from that you kind of now really take close to heart?
I think some of the challenges at first were really kind of establishing who you want to be, and just, your aesthetic. It's, you want to connect yourself with people that will put your brand in a good light and also kind of help you progress as a brand. So I learned, really kind of networking and putting your best foot forward and just showing people what you're doing and like your intentions, that'll go a long way with people. And that's a good way to, get into an event somewhere, or like bring someone some food and they like it and they'll share it on their story, and there's, some more credibility. That's all challenges, is to get connected. And really, there's a lot of long nights, especially when you don't want to pay someone to help cook and you're doing it all yourself. So like that mindset of just you got to really love it, because at the end of the day, you're doing it for yourself. You know, you're not doing it for anyone else. So it's how hard do you really want to push? And once you get past that in your mind, it's super easy. But that's a really tough obstacle. I think anything else is just, you know, after that, it gets super easy once you can get off the ground and you're motivated, because then other people can see that and they want to help you. And then once you have some like good, reliable people, then it's easy, you know.
Kitchens can be some of the highest pressure environments in the world. And I think it's, but I feel like this is where that badass chef persona stems from, right? Like full of tattoos, smoking a fucking cigarette at 2 a.m. in the back. It's a lot of pain, you know, a lot of like stress, but like you're doing it with a mindset of service, because at the end of the day, you're serving people and you're serving them memories, you're serving them, you know, nostalgia. And it's such a powerful and such a personal thing. How does that evolve with experiential, you know, pop-ups? Because obviously, like, it's not just about delivering that in one setting, but now you're kind of creating this whole environment around it that I think has the potential to even elevate the experience to, like, you know, crazy new levels. You know, do you feel some sort of sense of responsibility or duty when it comes to that? Because food can be such a close thing to people.
One of my favorite ways of cooking is family style. That's, you know, that's a big reason that I cook, is to connect people and make it a special experience for them, you know, share the moment, because at the end of the day, people are paying hard-earned money out of their pockets to come have a night at your restaurant or afternoon, whatever you have. So yeah, the responsibility for service is something big, because something that's drilled into a chef's head, even in culinary school in the industry, is, you know, all it takes is one bad dish for one person or a whole group not to come back. And then that's the big thing, is repeat customers. So if your service isn't flowing correctly, or, you know, something's bad, then this whole group isn't going to come back, and that's a problem.
When I talk about it with a lot of my service industry people, it always was like interesting to me how the relationship between service industry and technology has never really been good. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of shit that it's a very negative relationship, and that's even without talking about fees and commissions and delivery and all this bullshit. So, you know, what is your perception of that? What is your take on this whole thing between your industry, technology, how they're supposed to be, the cost of doing business with it as a chef, as a business owner?
Technology is a great way to ruin service. You know, if a printer goes out, the POS goes down, you can't take orders, et cetera, et cetera. That's everything. That's how a kitchen runs, is tickets, you know, through printers, most likely, if you're not writing them down. But yeah, you know, as a chef and as an entrepreneur who is pretty much paying out of pocket for all these events, it's super important for us to find a good, some good technology to work with. And as a cash drop vendor, not having to pay all these fees and everything is fantastic, because, like I said, I'm paying all out of pocket, and I want to work with a company that I can tell cares about me and isn't trying to like dig their hands in my pockets when it's already, you know, margins are already thin as a restaurant owner. You know, I would not like to work with a company that's taking a bunch of percentages off the top, and I'm working these 12-hour days and putting my own money into it, you know.
What is that piece of advice that you give to somebody when you say, look, social media is free, you have things like Cash App that make it free, like what's stopping you? Like how do you ionize that person to get started?
That's a great question. I think a lot of it stems from, thinking, well, you know, being concerned what other people are going to think about your business or whatever you're doing, and just the daunting thought in the back of your head of, I would have to do this, money, this. Yeah. In today's society with social media and everything, it's never been easier to not only, you know, put something together, but make these connections and network. During COVID, when I started my company, that was the main thing I would do, is I'd be cooking and I would send out probably 10 to 15 messages a night, either to streetwear brands, to individuals, to companies. Even that, I had no thought in the back of my head that they're not going to respond. But it's one message on Instagram. I don't have to pay for it. It's going to take me 30 seconds. And maybe 2 of those 15 responded. And then that gave me an opportunity. And then 3 months go on. And not only am I working in the industry, so my craft is improving, and I'm working harder every day. Then you send out the 15 more messages, and then 4 people respond. And you can keep going and going. And then you have these established connections. With social media, it's never been easier to make connections, to network, to put yourself in a position, if you have a nice craft and you know what you're doing, to elevate and to get going. You know, it's a daunting task when you don't have any of the groundwork set. But like Ruben said, in today's society, it's never been easier to kind of create that foundation for yourself and get going. It's just that step of picking yourself up and, you know, getting to it.
What's some of the best advice you ever got, directly or indirectly, when you were starting your business?
The biggest piece of advice was my mentor. After I was calling him and texting him like, you know, this is tough, this is uncomfortable, it's hard every day to be motivated. He said that you need to find the space where being uncomfortable is comfortable for you and pushing yourself out those boundaries. And to this day, whenever I find myself getting anxious about a project or something, I do think in the back of my head, okay, this is going to be beneficial to me because I'm nervous about it, because it means a lot to me, so that's got to be a good point. You know, just being comfortable with being uncomfortable is everything. Pushing yourself out of these boundaries.
If you reflect back to yourself at your most vulnerable, right, like in this the pressure cooker that you were at, you know, what is something that you, if you had 10 seconds to tell yourself something about that, what would it be?
Right after I graduated high school, I went to Elmhurst College, a suburb of Illinois, to go to business school, and I played tennis there. And, you know, writing 10-page papers for hours in the library wasn't up my alley. And, you know, I'd be in my dorm room talking to my mom like, you know, I'm doing okay, but I'm really miserable doing this work. And I think something I would tell myself is being okay with changing something up if it's not working for you. You know, in the back of your head, if you really truly aren't enjoying it and cannot see yourself doing then you need to change. Because, you know, being a cook, I've worked with 40-year-old line cooks who, you know, it's too late for them to do anything that they want to do, and it's sad, you know. But it's the life they chose because of whatever it may be. You know, it's easier said than done to just change what you want to do. But, you know, if you're really not enjoying it and you want to follow your dreams, taking that step and changing it is okay, and it will be okay. Because I did it. I was, you know, I took the traditional route of going to college, and I thought I was going to be in a suit working in an office in the Loop. But I was just miserable, and I was like, I got to take a change. And, you know, it was scary because your world will change. But that's okay. You know, if you're really passionate about it, it'll work. It'll all work out.
What's the big ambition? What's the big dent that you want to create in the culture, in the industry?
I would like to have some sort of either business model or brick and mortar where, you know, we have this established fan base and people know what we're doing with the culinary multimedia. But we would also like to be able to curate some events and pop-ups for either artists or companies or businesses that would like to, you know, they have a client and they don't want to deal with all the logistics of food, the venue, setup, all that. So we really want to be that melting pot for anyone to really go down the route of fine dining, but we can also do, you know, we can do any type of food that you want to do, and just be that hub of culture, music, food. You know, if you want an event curated with all that, we can do it. But we just generically want to be that Chicago brand that, you know, you can go to. One day you'll see some food, and one day you'll see, you know, FemDot, or you'll see Vic Mensa, you know, eating some pizza or cooking or something. You know, we really want to be that Chicago-centric, like, food, culture, music hub that people can either watch videos, come to an event in Chicago, which is even cooler. You know, just be that hub for all things food, culture, music.
I have one last question for you. What's your favorite quote and why?
I was talking to my mentor again, and this was probably like I've been in business doing my pop-ups, not my pop-ups, just the culinary multimedia. Right when it started, we didn't have anything, you know, and it's really quickly to get in that mindset of wanting to rush things. And I wanted to make merchandise, and the quote is, "Why are you making merchandise? No one wants that." And at first, it's like, damn. But then you really think about it, and you're like, you're right. Why am I going to put myself through all this, doing all this, when no one wants it? You know, it all takes time. Rome wasn't built overnight. You know, we're finally getting to a place. It's been 2.5 years, and now we're going to start rolling merchandise out. You know, it's just, you know, day by day and really prioritizing what's going to take you to this next level.
That's awesome. That's great advice.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you for sharing your story. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.